Today we're making these Cambodian pin noodles stir-fry style. And if you've never had Cambodian cuisine just like I haven't, then you're in for a surprise. So let's take a look. And it all starts with these rice pin noodles. Now I tried to search everywhere at a local Asian grocery store to find these, but where I live, that's no luck. And maybe I have to move, maybe I have to find a place where there's more cultural stuff that's easily available. But I had to end up making this myself, and the first thing I did, just like pasta, just like noodles, there should be a standard recipe for making these pin noodles. So I looked at a couple of them, and unfortunately, besides this one video, which I can link down below, a lot of the others just gave bad instructions. And we'll get into that. What I'm using here is some rice flour, tapioca starch, salt, and some cornstarch. You want to then mix all the dry ingredients first and then bring water to a boil. And you have to add boiling water in here so that you can cook the flour. And here's where things got kind of confusing based on what I was experiencing versus what I was reading initially. Everything that I read said to use the exact ratio of ingredients and to not add any water, because as you mix and as you continue to let it cool down, it will turn into a dough-like consistency. Well, look at my hands. That never happened. So what I learned from the video that I linked down below earlier is you do have to add more flour. In this case, rice flour. And you just add a tiny bit at a time and then continue mixing it until it's not super sticky and unmanageable anymore. And then you just knead it into this nice, smooth, starchy dough. The noodle part, while a bit cumbersome, is actually kind of fun. Just make sure to remove any rings from your hands. Just pinch out a piece and you just roll it between your hands. And I'll show you 3 different sizes so you have an idea. Do this for all of the dough, because this dough will not sit well in the fridge. So just sprinkle a tiny bit of rice flour, keep shaking it a little bit, make sure it's not stuck, and then finish making the noodles. Now you can let this stay at room temperature for 1 to 2 days without any issue. But putting it in the fridge does seem to clump them up, and it will slightly ruin the texture. Now you have to cook the pin noodles and not store it raw in the fridge. And to cook them, you need to boil a pot of water and then put the noodles in. Always start with the tester so you have an idea what you're gonna do. That's what I did. And once it floats, it's ready. So that's what I did with the rest of the batch. 1.5 batches was perfect for the size of the pot and the amount of noodles that I was cooking. You can now drain that and put it in cold water before you drain that again, and then just store it. And I would store it at room temperature for 1 to 2 days, because putting it in the fridge does affect the consistency and it will dry it out, make it a bit gummier. But time to make this dish itself. It all starts with chicken thighs, which are nice and fatty, which I've cut really nice and thin, so they'll become very tender, especially because to marinate them, we're adding a really simple but potent set of ingredients. There's some soy sauce, oyster sauce, tapioca starch, fish sauce, and granulated sugar. You can skip the oyster sauce if you're using dark soy sauce instead. Check out the link down below for the full recipe. This recipe is part of the hashtag Khmer Eats collaboration, where we are exploring Cambodian cuisine. So check out all the other YouTube friends for ideas, inspiration into the world that is Cambodian cooking. Okay, marination ingredients are in. You want to give that a quick mix and let that sit for about 10-15 minutes. Then we'll prepare the sauce. And for the sauce, we just have some sambal oelek or some chili garlic sauce, soy sauce, oyster sauce, fish sauce, and some sugar. Now you might have noticed the bean sprouts from earlier. Well, the bean sprouts need to be slightly cooked. That's why this pot of water is boiling, and we will have to refresh the pin noodles that we made earlier. So dump the bean sprouts in here for about a minute is all you need to get them ready, and then add in your pin noodles. In the meanwhile, in the back, you see I'm multitasking and cooking an egg, because traditionally you want to serve this with a nice fried egg. Okay, the third task that's going side by side is my wok, which is nice and hot. I've slightly seasoned it with vegetable oil and some finely chopped garlic. Chopped, not minced. Garlic goes in. You want to toast that and even brown it slightly before you add in the marinated chicken thighs. And this is crucial to not stir it too much, because browning will give it a lot of flavor. And once you have seen some browning on the chicken, then just start stirring it a bit, do some stir fry action, and then finally, once chicken is mostly cooked, you can add in those cooked pin noodles along with the sauce that we made earlier. When things are hot like this, just being prepared de-stresses you so much, so you're not running around and ruining your food. Now, once that sauce has had a chance to coat everything together, add in those bean sprouts along with your chives that we chopped. Stir that up, let that cook, let that get nice and fragrant. The chives add an amazing fresh oniony flavor. Bean sprouts are crazy good in this. And then finally you finish it with your green onions. I'm saving a bit for a garnish, but now this is ready to be served with our fresh, bright fried egg. And this is how you make an amazing homemade Lort Cha noodles. This Cambodian pin noodle stir fry recipe will be your go-to maybe weekend meal if you have to make the noodles at home, but weeknight if you can find it easily at the store. It's so easy to put together, the flavors are so good, and I'm so glad I tried this new cuisine, because I've never had Cambodian food before. And I don't know if you've had Cambodian food before, but if I didn't have this channel, if I didn't have this collaboration, I probably wouldn't have tried it. So go ahead and try it, even if you have never heard of it, had it, or are skeptical of it, because you can say that you had it. I'll see you all on the next one.